It's me, Phil, here in the Digital DJ Tip studio. We didn't have our second camera ready there. So, hey, who cares? We are live. That's the important thing. We're live on a Thursday for our first Thursday Q&A live back in the studio. And that means we've got... we've got a special guest joining us today, the one and only James Hype. And James is going to join us to talk all about getting back to gigs after the lockdown, after everything that's been going on. James is going to be touring the USA, and he's already started gigging again, and he's going to be talking to us about what it's like to get back to gigs. And I thought James would be a nice person. Not only is James, of course, a tutor here at Digital DJ Tips, but he'd be a nice person to talk to this about, because he's basically spent lockdown being very productive, building his profile and all that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, getting back to gigs. As always, this is a Thursday Q&A live, and that means that it's all about you guys and girls. So if you have questions, if you have stuff you want to ask about getting back to gigs, if you want to share your experiences about getting back to DJ gigs, then do so. Type away. I've got all your comments coming in live here, so we can feature them on the screen. And of course, if you've got any questions for James. Speaking of James, he's with us. So James, I'm just trying my hardest to get you on the screen. It'll happen in a second. It normally takes me a minute. James, I've got to unlock the scene. Apparently, that's what I've done wrong. I haven't unlocked the scene. So there we go. I'll do that now. Hi, James. Whoa, you're big. It zoomed in nicely on your face there. I like that. So how are you, my friend? Don't worry about it. I'll sort it out. How are you?
I'm all good. Yeah, man. I'm in limbo at the moment because I'm supposed to have started my USA tour last weekend and still waiting for some documents from those guys. So I'm in limbo, but yeah, I'm all good.
Good. Well, you're the right person to talk to about. I've got this is freaking me out. I've got me on the left, me on the right, you on the left, you on the right. That looks all right. I want to talk to you, especially about getting back to gigs, because there's two things about you. One, you weren't hanging about, messing around in lockdown. You were working really, really hard. And you're going to be reaping the benefits of that now, I'm pretty sure. We've watched you. We've made a course with you over lockdown. I'll tell people about that course in a minute. We've watched your profile go from, promising up and coming to pretty big name DJ. You've not played a gig really, and that's amazing. So now it's like back to gigs. And of course, you're a gigging DJ. That's what you do. You're a performer. That's why you blew up so much in lockdown, because you wouldn't let lockdown stop you performing, and your live streams were just huge. But you've got the gigs to back it up. You've been sharing footage from before all this happened, and everyone's screaming to see you. So I wanted to, because our audience are getting back to gigs as well. So I wanted to talk to you about what it's been like not playing gigs, and then what it feels like getting back to them. So firstly, let's talk about lockdown. What was lockdown like? When it hit, what did you think? What was your immediate, I haven't got any gigs. I can't play gigs anymore. How did that feel? What did that feel like?
Immediate reaction was immediately I just got worried about money. That was the first thing that I worried about. And then after I realized I'd be okay for a few months, so I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Because I'm putting out all this content for people to watch, and it's all videos from my gigs. So there's no gigs. So what am I going to do? And then I think I saw some of the DJ was like, we're doing a live stream. And I was like, that is a great idea. I definitely wasn't the first person to think of doing a live stream. But yeah, I saw someone else doing it. And then I was one of the first people to do it, for sure. And then I did the first live stream on my YouTube channel a couple of weeks after the whole world was in this lockdown, or maybe a week or so after, and had nearly 3,000 viewers, and it was crazy.
We just lost you for a second there. Keep talking. We lost you for a second, but you're back. Carry on.
Yo.
Yeah, you're here. You're here. It's all good.
Okay. I got into live streaming a couple of weeks into the lockdown. Had about just under 3,000 people watching the first ever live stream, and it was crazy. It was really good fun as well. Got really hooked on it, got really into it. I'm not sure whether I carried on doing it at first because I knew it was going somewhere, or just because it was kind of a buzz to play to that many people. But it was really cool. And at first, when I was doing these first lockdown sessions, I was basically just playing like a club set. So just playing loads of bangers, like I would play in the club. And then as it kind of progressed, as it kind of progressed through all the months of being locked down, I really feel like I found my core viewers, like the people who were there week in, week out.
Hmm.
And I started adding loads of more like new music into the sets, loads of new transitions into the sets, just to kind of keep it fresh and entertaining for the people who were there twice a week. And yeah, here we are. How many months later?
Nearly 18 months, is it something like that?
Yeah, 18 months
Yeah.
later. Yeah, and still going, still live streaming, sometimes twice a week, when the schedule allows. If there's a show and I can't live stream, then I'll drop an epic YouTube video instead on the same day at the same time.
Yeah.
So 7 p.m. UK time, Wednesday and Saturday, the best live
There we
stream in the
go. There's a
world.
little plug. 7 p.m. UK Wednesday, Saturday on YouTube's the best place to watch you, isn't it, James?
Yeah,
So, okay, so you kept yourself busy and you probably built quite a good audience who are going to come and pay and see you, which is exciting because you're getting back to gigs. Now, you've actually already played one or two, I believe. Is that correct?
I've done about 7 now, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it like? What was it? Describe the very first gig back. I mean, I know you played one in Finland, a kind of bizarre gig in the middle of
Yeah,
lockdown
yeah,
that you
yeah,
managed
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
sneak
So
out
the
and play.
Finland one happened
But
while
but getting back
everyone
properly,
was
where
still
was
locked down.
where was
Yeah,
it? Where was the first gig back?
Tampere, Finland. Oh, what are we leaving that one? Are we not
Yeah,
counting
yeah,
that one?
no. I want to talk about
We
proper
want to talk
gigging,
about
regular
okay,
gigging.
okay. Okay,
Yeah,
let me explain the Finland one first. So the Finland one happened about 4 weeks before the end of the lockdown in the UK, which was kind of crazy because everywhere was in lockdown, and then I was in Finland where everyone was very relaxed and we were all dancing outside in the rain, and that was pretty amazing. But then the first real show after lockdown ended, I think, was Poland. I think it was Poland. It's called Sunrise Festival, and it was. I just remember like just having goosebumps, like when we went up on the stage and stuff, and yeah, it was proper exciting, man. Um, and I also felt really out of place as well.
or out of place, as in like out of practice, kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's not being out of practice because I've probably done more DJing than I've ever done in my life. It's just a matter of being out of the comfort zone of home
Because
because
you've become a bit of a homeboy, really, I guess.
I
By
got very used to DJing on a table that's the perfect height with a speaker that's in the perfect position. Do you know what I mean? And
I
any
do,
any
James. James, I
and
know what you mean because I remember altering the table height by an inch because the camera couldn't fit everything on, and the half hour we debated whether you could deal with it. I think you took your shoes off in the end. I think you actually took your shoes off when we were filming. So
And but any real DJ knows when you go and play a real show, nothing is perfect. Something's always not how you expected it to be. And when you get on that festival stage and the bass is vibrating, the CDJs all over the place and stuff. And it was just being back in that environment. I was like, oh wow, I forgot how much uncertainty there is associated with it. Whereas at home, you know how it's gonna go. The only uncertainty comes from the actual doing like DJ tricks or whatever.
yeah, yeah. But what about the travel and what about because you caught COVID
Oh
over
yeah,
the
I
period.
was
So
quite
so
ill. I was in
yeah.
bed for 2 weeks. It was horrible.
So did you have any? Did you feel differently about traveling or about meeting people or about having lots of people in one place, or did that kind of like push to the back of your mind?
Um, I think having watched the USA, Europe has, um, I think we all saw like, okay, these guys they've pushed ahead with their vaccinations and they've managed to maybe beat the worst of the virus and enable the country to get back to some state of normality. And I think slowly we've all realised that maybe that is a possibility. Um, I think maybe I think actually, don't get me wrong. When I saw some of the videos from the first UK shows from like the unlocking date, I was a bit like, "Ooh, that's a lot of people. That is a lot of
Yeah,
people."
yeah.
But I think that's because I know how high the case numbers were in the UK, because I got addicted to the news at one point through COVID, and that's terrible. Whereas when I was looking at Europe, the case numbers were a lot lower. But what do we know, man? We don't know anything, you know.
No,
We don't.
it's we
We've
could
just got
talk
to.
for a long time, couldn't we? About
Exactly. There's no point in me and you talking about COVID
no,
case
no.
numbers. So yeah, like getting back to travel, that was exciting. Still is exciting. I've been doing some awful flights because it's hard to get flights because there aren't as many planes flying because not as
Mhm.
many people traveling. So I've been like flying. I've been playing a gig at 3 a.m. and getting a flight home at 5 a.m. and all of that nonsense instead of staying over and flying home at a civilized time the next day.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
a lot of flights where there's two planes where there'd normally only be one, you know. Um, so the travel's been harder than it would have been pre-COVID. Um, but I think because I was deprived of the live environment for so long, I don't mind putting up with it, you know.
So talking about travel, the word on the street is that you are going to be playing a tour across the USA if you can get all the ducks in a row about this and get yourself out there. And
It's,
I know an awful lot of our audience is in the USA, the majority of our audience, and a lot of them are really, really keen to hear more about this. So tell us how that's going, how the planning's going.
well, to be quite frank, it's going terribly. Um,
Tell us more, James.
the tour was supposed to start over a week ago, and
Right? Okay.
so far we've had to cancel 5 shows because I'm waiting for the US Embassy in London to give me an appointment to attach my visa to my passport. So I've been granted the visa, but it has to be attached to the passport before I can go to the US, which is super frustrating because obviously I've tried everything I can to get this over the line. Oh, you... Phil's got the answers.
So basically, any minute now, it's going to drop. Presumably, the shows are going to be
Literally.
rescheduled, and then you're going to be out there,
Yeah,
and it's
so
going to.
the shows that have already been cancelled, I think they've all been rescheduled. There is a second USA tour scheduled for October as well. So any of the September dates that are cancelled will hopefully be rescheduled into the October tour. And obviously, anyone who's got tickets and the shows haven't gone ahead, then get in touch with the promoter, get in touch with the club, and I'm sure they will let you know whether it's been rescheduled or whether they're going to give you a refund. But I think almost 90% sure that they're all being rescheduled. So as soon as I get this document, I'm on a plane. Literally, that could be Tuesday. You know.
Brilliant. Yeah, cool. And we didn't even know if this was going to happen because you might have been on a plane. So it's like you're ready, your bag's packed.
Yeah.
James, you know, you are popular guy anyway, but certainly since making this course with Digital DJ Tips, your profile's gone through the roof, my friend. And we've got loads and loads of people who are asking questions and giving you thumbs up
All
and
right,
stuff on the comments. So without any further ado, I want to go across to
Fire
some
in
of
the
them.
chat. Fire in the chat.
Fire in the chat, indeed. We were waiting for you to come to Sweden, James, says Mickey. Any news?
I don't think I've ever played in Sweden, and that has to happen soon. What music do you listen to in Sweden?
Let us know,
Yeah,
James.
let us
What
know.
music? Not was it? No, I'm just trying to
I
remember the
think
name of the
it's
person.
Mick.
Mickey. Yeah, let us know,
Mickey.
Mickey, what music you listen to in Sweden, and we will share this. So, Robert, this is utter honesty here from Robert, and I like to share utter honesty. Not a fan of the music you play. I love my dub house, but I love your sets, enthusiasm, and approach, man. Big up. So there you
Robert,
go.
I appreciate your comment.
Loads and
That's
loads
all
of
good. That's all
fires.
good. We know
Loads
GM.
and loads of
Let's
fires.
type phone in the
Just the
chat. Let's go,
Just the
Roadrunner.
truth. If you want to
Kevin.
ask an actual question, hashtag ASK, please. Hashtag ask people so I can separate it from all the general love for James that's going on here. Xcoza says, ask James, can you please release that Do You Still Want Me tune? I always hear it in your live streams and I need it.
I'm
James.
trying my best, mate. I'm trying my best. I'm dealing with record labels here, mate.
There you
It's
go.
not
He's on your...
possible.
Martin, what do you dislike most about DJ life?
The fact that there is no switch off button. The fact that and this is there's not it's not often that I dislike this, but if I have to give an answer, it's the fact that I am incapable of switching off because my whole DJ life is who I am. It's not like, oh, it's 9 a.m. Let's go to work. It's 5 p.m. Let's come home from work. It's like, it doesn't matter what day it is or where in the world I am. I'm always on, you know. And
Yeah.
and I don't hate that. I'm not complaining about that. But there are times. There have been times where things get really tough, and I'll just think like, imagine having a job. The grass is always greener, right?
Yeah, I think most people with a job would be screaming back at you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trust me, dude, you've got the greener grass. Anyway, here's an interesting question, and I'm sure you won't mind talking in broad terms about this. Do you earn more by DJing or producing?
Um, DJ.
The next question is, when are you coming to Texas? We need that energy from Fam Media.
I think it's October.
Brilliant.
Keep watching my Instagram story, and I'm going to put all of my tour dates on there as soon as they're confirmed.
So the next question, I'm going to answer it for you, James. It's from John, who says, how do you get all the acapellas on time? Do you warp them or something? And the reason I'm going to answer this for you is that James has made a whole course on how to do this. I just shared my desktop there with complete personal stuff all over it. Awesome, Phil. Well done. I was about to flick to our website and share and show you the course, but I can't do that because it's not set up right. So James has done a course with us, and you can go to the courses tab on Digital DJ Tips, where he talks about everything, including how to set up acapellas. Obviously, he can't show you now, but basically, to cut a long story short, it's all about tidying them up, isn't it, James?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like making sure that they're in time, they're on the beat, and then making sure that they're correct volume and working out what key they're in and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's doing your homework, you know.
James goes through in literally step by step detail on how he does that in the course, and it's if you want to know how to DJ the way James DJs, basically the course is it. It's all the tricks, but it's also all the behind the scenes stuff as well. So the DJ courses tab on Digital DJ Tips is the place to go, and scroll down to James's course. James, questions are piling in. We're never going to get through them all, so I just want to spend our last kind of 10-15 minutes going for it. Someone called Technobeat, one of our regulars who's in the Philippines, says, is it possible to make your own record label? I know I can't, but I have a name called House Hub along with my YouTube channel. I'm just a bit curious. Well, James, you've got a record label. How did that come about?
I've got a record label. I've got a record label distributed by a company called Labelworks with an X. There are easier ways to do it though. I had to know somebody to work with Labelworks. There is a company called Ditto Music, on which you can set up your own record label. So yeah, there's many ways to do it. That's just one that I know of, you know. Google it, because it's not as difficult as you might think.
Especially with digital nowadays, of course. It's all different from back in the days of vinyl, where you had to find distributors and vinyl pressing and stuff. But that doesn't mean you're going to succeed just because you can do it easily, right? So Ditto Music, we've heard an awful lot about Ditto Music actually over the years, James. So I think that's a good point to start off with. Have a look at those guys, and then you'll find the people who are doing the same kind of thing. Because of course it's going to be different in the Philippines to in Europe to in America and so on. There'll be someone local who's maybe a better fit for you. So thank you for that, Technobeat. The next live question is from Daniel, who says, how many gigs stroke experience should you have before asking for a 4-figure sum for a 2-hour set? How many gigs or how much experience should you have? Well, you can ask for it now, Daniel. Whether you get it or not is another thing.
I agree with Phil. I don't know where in the world you are. I don't know what your fee is right now. I know that when I was in the early stages of my career, that was quite a far-fetched fee. But obviously, if you're already earning, it's not that far off, you know. So it's a hard one to answer. But you just got to know your own worth and read the room and hope that the value you're putting on yourself is the actual value that you're providing to the person who's paying. It's a hard one to answer, mate.
Yeah, in fact, probably impossible. But I think one thing people think is that there is a proven path in DJing, that you can do this, followed by this, followed by that, and you'll end up here. And there's no career that can be not like that, more not like that than DJing. It really is who's prepared to pay for you, and that's your fee. So you've got to step back and say, how do I get to the point where this is what people are paying to have me DJ?
We could look at a case study of someone like, is it Gianluca Vacci, the guy who stands on the Tomorrowland stage and does press ups and stuff? Like, he probably gets paid hundreds of thousands of pounds. How many hours of DJing experience do you think he has? It's probably not that many compared to a lot of people, because he's more of an entertainer than he is a DJ. Whereas then you could look at another DJ who's been a resident DJ in a club for 30 years and he does 4 nights a week. He's got so much experience, but he might only get paid $200 a night.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about who's willing to pay for it, like Phil said.
Yeah. So you just released a video which is doing really well. I know it's doing really well because you pinged and told me it was doing well, and I looked at it and it was awesome. It's your new DDJ 400 set that's just gone up on YouTube, and it is cool. So go and look at that on James's channel. But OSF42 says, how long did it take you to prep for that set?
15 minutes. That's not the answer I wanted. But to be fair, a lot of those tracks, I've been playing them for a long time. And when I do a video like that on a DDJ 400, it's quite challenging for me because I'm limited to only 2 decks. I'm limited by the size of the equipment. I'm limited in what I can do without having to touch the laptop. So what I try and do is I try and keep it easy for myself by not throwing too many new transitions into the mix. So you will have noticed that the first transition in the video is a brand new one. I've never put it in a video before. But then after that, I've basically just hashed out a load of old transitions, but on the DDJ 400. So while it only took me 15 minutes, that's because I only really created something new for the first transition, and all the tracks after that are things that I would play quite often, which is, as I say, it's to make life easier for myself because I'm using a piece of equipment that I'm not so familiar with.
A lot of people will watch that and say, well, there's a high level of skill in that DJ set. Really, 15 minutes? But there's a great story about Picasso. Someone said to him, can you draw my picture? And he went like that. 30 seconds later, gave the lady a picture, and it was brilliant. And she said, how much do you want for it? And he said, $10,000. And she's like, $10,000? It took you 30 seconds. And he said, no, it took me 40 years. And there's a lot of truth in that, isn't there? It's a lap of honor when you're performing, but it's all the work that came before that gets you to the point where it takes you 15 minutes to prepare a set. So bear that in mind, people. If you think James is kind of like exaggerating there, he's not.
No, don't get me wrong. If I'm doing a set, say imagine I was to record 60 minutes YouTube video on 4 CDJs tomorrow, I would spend 3 hours preparing for it, because I'd be trying to find new transitions, new ways of playing things, new music. This DDJ 400 video, it was a much simpler thing for me to prepare.
Right, people, we've got another 10-15 minutes with James here. If you're enjoying this, hit that share button, please. And if you're on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel. The next question is from our someone about production. And this is, I'll leave the production one for a second, because this one caught my eye from Steve. He said, what, if anything, did you miss when you chose to ditch the laptop and exclusively use CDJs for your sets?
Speed of searching, keyboard shortcuts, speed of loading tracks. Like, if you go from Serato, where you can do shift left and drop, I used to leave the fader up and drop a track onto a playing deck. I was that type of DJ. And then if you go from that to transfer a track onto CDJ 2000, the load time on a CDJ 2000 can be like 10 seconds sometimes. The load time's a lot faster on the 3000s, which is nice. And also they're better for browsing and searching, which is nice. But I think if you're used to Serato, Tractor, laptop, and 2 decks, if you were then to switch onto CDJ only with no laptop, you'd probably want 3 decks to compensate for
Yeah.
the awkwardness in navigating.
Yeah. There's a bit of backwardsness about hardware, isn't there? Because computers
Yeah.
are so powerful that the
Mhm.
hardware is only just starting to catch up even now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But if you want to play clubs, you've got to get used to club gear, and I guess
yeah.
that was your decision to switch, James. That you wanted to play on the gear that you find everywhere, and so
I just wanted to look like a real house music DJ.
not
That's
like
what
a scratch DJ.
yeah, exactly.
There we go. Quick question from Alex, who says, I've been producing for some time, but your DJ sets are what finally got me to want to buy a controller. What kind of controller do you recommend for someone new to DJing?
For me, it's got to be the DDJ 400. Um, it's got so many similar or the same features as the professional DJ gear. Like the buttons are in the same place, they look the same, slightly smaller, but everything. If you know your way around that, then you'll know your way around a pair of decks, and you'll know your way around a pair of CDJ 2000s and a DJM 900, which is what you would find in a lot of clubs.
Mm.
It's got to be that. I
Yeah, I
wouldn't.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm taking the one here home at the weekend because I don't want to take home the XDJ that I've got set up there that weighs. I need two people to carry it out the studio. So
Yeah.
they're really really useful little things, the 400s, because they just
Mm-hmm.
chuck it under your arm, chuck it in a bag, play with it anywhere. And
I've
as
got
James
20
says,
in my car.
it's got everything on it.
Yeah.
It looks and feels like the real thing, just shrunk down a
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah.
The next live question then is from Luke, who says, "How did you learn to make your own tunes? Was it a course online, or was it a local course, or was it from a friend? How did you learn?"
So I used to make mashups in Ableton. I used to just get one song, get an acapella, put it in the breakdown, and I was doing that for ages, making them for my DJ sets. And then one day I started adding like extra drums and stuff in the build up. I was just like, oh, this needs a bit more of this. But I was like searching the internet for like drum sample, like that type of thing. I had no idea what I was doing. Um, and then I was like, oh, I'm kind of producing a track here. And then I listened to some really simple sounding music and thought, that sounds really easy to make. Lo and behold, it wasn't. But during this thought process, I discovered, oh, I'm interested in making music. And I would search for every specific thing I wanted to do. I would do a YouTube search for it. And this was quite a long time ago as well. So there wasn't as much content online back then as there is now. Like there weren't so many courses and things back then. Obviously, there's so many courses now that you can like fast track your way to getting all the knowledge you want in one place. Whereas back then it was like, oh, how do I make the kick drum like this? How to make a kick drum like this, you know? Whereas now there would be one course that would teach you how do you get the kick drum like this, the hi-hat like this, and you've kind of built a whole thing. So it was very much a trial and error thing. I was kind of self-taught with the help of the internet, probably about 8 years ago, maybe.
And of course we know where that's led to. You've had several hits. You had success in the charts around the world and so on. And I want to ask you a question here. How much do you think that's helped you to build your profile? Or do you see those two parts of your life, the kind of chart music part of your life and the DJ part of your life, do they feel separate? How do they fit together in your mind?
They they do fit together. They're not separate. The chart music part of my life. Right. All right. Let me break this down. Right. So I've been a DJ for 16 years. Okay, that's a long, long time. Not as long as you do, Phil.
No, but I stopped 16 years ago, James. There's a difference.
That's a long, long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been a DJ for 16 years, and let's say I started making music 8 years ago. So I got 8 years of experience being a DJ. I then started making music, and no one listened to it for another 3 years. By that point, I've been a DJ for 11 years. Okay. And then one of the songs that I made became a big hit in Europe, top 10 in the UK, top 10 in Belgium, top 10 in Germany. That gave me this platform where people were like, "Oh, let's book this guy for the festival. He's had a big tune. Let's book him for the club." Played in all these places, and then they book this guy that they've never heard of before. He's absolute nobody. He comes on the stage, and he's been DJing for 11 years, and he's amazing. And they don't expect it to be good. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause they've never heard of it. And that's so the music gave me the platform to show people, oh, this is what I can actually do, you know?
That's brilliant. That's a brilliant story. And of course, it's true, isn't it? A lot of producers will literally be Googling DJ lessons on their way to their first gig.
Exactly. And that's so normal. Like, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Like it's, some people do DJing first, some people do production first. But yeah, a lot of these clubs and festivals, they're used to a DJ turning up and playing their one hit song and a couple of others, and it being quite mundane and boring. So if you can turn up and they don't really know who you are, and you turn up and you've got 11 years of experience and you wow everybody, then it's quite a special thing, because it's not normal.
Here's a good one, James. Do you prefer a pre-planned set or to read the crowd? Is it even possible to read the crowd at a festival stage? Asks Bart.
Even possible. I think it's. Do you know what I do? I like pre-read a crowd, if that makes any sense at all. Like, I do a bit of research before I get to the show. Obviously, there's some places I'll go where I already have a good idea what the crowd's going to be like. If I'm going to a specific town in the UK where I've been there loads of times before, or a club I've played at before, I know what the crowd's going to be like. If I'm going to a country I've never been to before, then I'll be thinking, what type of music do people listen to in this country? Are they listening to English rappers? Do they listen to Dutch rappers? All these kind of things going around in my head, because I don't want to drop like a tune which features a British rapper and they're all looking at me like, what's this? You know what I mean? So I kind of pre-read a crowd. I'll look at what artist the venue has booked in the past few months, go on their Instagram, things like that. If the venue's booked loads of underground artists, then I'll be like, oh, right, okay, it's going to be an underground crowd and they're going to appreciate more underground music, and vice versa. And then when it comes to the actual show, I kind of prepare more music than I need in one playlist. So I'll have one playlist which is for one show, and imagine I play 100 tracks. I'll probably have 150 to 200 in the playlist in kind of sections, and there'll be things which I will play if it's going one way and things which I'll play if it's going another. And that will normally be the safer, more commercial option and the newer, edgier, more exciting for me option if it's where I want it to. But then there's sometimes gigs where people aren't as responsive to the music as I thought they might be, and then I've got within that playlist, I've got those absolute banker tunes that you know are always going to come through for you.
We've always taught, take twice the amount of music that you think you're going to play, because it's just a nice sweet spot, isn't it, between like not having a clue what you're going to play and being too tied back and being, not having enough options. So thanks for reinforcing that bit of teaching there, James. Listen, we are running out of time here, so I just want to let you know again, if you're in the USA, keep an eye on James's Instagram story, because he's going to be letting you know when he finally gets out there, where he's playing and so on, and you'll get a chance to actually catch him. I also want to remind everyone about the course that James has made with us, which is available on our website. Go to the courses tab and go down to the James Hype course, or indeed click on anything in or around any of his videos, including his latest one, which our team are beavering away adding the links to right now. And you can find out more about that course. There was actually a course question that came in here that we simply can't answer, which says, when are you going to make another course with James Hype? It says. So all we can say is, what's going to happen first, James? The US tour or the new course with you? Hey? Watch this space. Watch this space, people. Yeah. All right, James, listen, man, thank you very, very much for joining us. Thank you for your time. Thanks for putting up with the usual Phil Morse. We'll get on with it. It'll be all right. Which always settles down in the end. Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you here. I look forward to seeing you soon. Best of luck from all of us at Digital DJ Tips with the tour. And
Thank you,
if
everyone.
just to let you know, James, if I hadn't filtered out only the hashtag ask questions, the comments are completely crazy. And there's absolutely no way I could have conducted this. You've got an awful lot of love here.
Thank you everyone for firing the chat. Thank you for the questions. And jameshype.com/course.
Lovely. And the stream is available to rewatch for everyone who's asking. You can watch it again on YouTube and on Facebook. Till next time, James.
See you later.